The left is already in full resistance mode over Judge Kavanaugh. Left-wing agitators and politicians began protesting his nomination in front of the Supreme Court almost as soon as President Trump made the announcement.
We must ensure that we defeat Brett Kavanaugh. All our rights are at stake.
He is a dangerous man who will endanger our fundamental freedoms.
This just must not become the next justice on the Supreme Court. And what that will take is all of us fighting as hard and as long as we can.
We won't stand for any nominee, no Brett Kavanaugh, that wants to take away our constitutional rights.
Hell no on Kavanaugh! Hell no on Kavanaugh!
They must have had a lot of different signs. Hell no Coney Barrett, hell no Hardiman, but they had to put up the Kavanaugh sign. Well, the left-wing Center for American Progress put together tonight's protest. Joining me now for reaction, Chris Hahn, former advisor to Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, Harmeet Dillon, the RNC committee woman in California, and Matthew Lemke, an attorney in Alabama who previously clerked for Justice Kennedy. Has been following this very closely. It's great to have all of you on tonight. Matt, let's start with you. Justice Kennedy, for whom you clerked, I'm wondering what he's thinking tonight. He's probably over the moon. But that association with both Justice Kennedy and the Bushes did give a lot of conservatives, before we get into the resistance, pause about Judge Kavanaugh, whether he'd be the right type of justice, whether he'd evolve in the role. Matt, you know Brett and you know Justice Kennedy. What are your thoughts tonight after watching this all unfold?
Well, I think it's a great night for Justice Kennedy. He's got to be immensely proud that his law clerk has been nominated to the court. It will be his second law clerk on the court if Judge Kavanaugh is confirmed, because, of course, Judge Gorsuch, now Justice Gorsuch, also clerked for Justice Kennedy. But I think in terms of the conservative concerns, look, there's a 12-year record of 300 decisions by Judge Kavanaugh that show that he is a principled conservative who believes in judicial restraint and believes that he's not the 101st senator, some super legislator, but instead he's there to interpret the law. President Trump had 4 great candidates. I think any one of them would have made a terrific nominee, and people had their favorites. But now I think people will rally around, all conservatives will rally around Judge Kavanaugh, because he really is a principled conservative that we can count on.
Well, except the protesters. And Chris, I mean, that's your party there tonight at the court. I mean, they're kind of straggling around now, but they had all their pre-printed signs up. You had the NARAL people, you had the Planned Parenthood people, you had Center for American Progress. Yeah. I didn't find that display tonight. I mean, I'm trying to put myself as an outside observer, which is hard given my background clerking on the court and so forth. None of that seemed attractive to me. It seemed in poor form. And it seemed like it doesn't matter who the president nominated. He could have nominated Merrick Garland. They'd probably have a Garland, resist Garland sign up there. Your reaction to what unfolded at the court?
If he would have nominated Garland, I'd be here talking about how great a president Donald Trump was tonight.
Maybe you,
so that
but not this crowd.
Shocking development. But I will say this. Look, Merrick Garland, it all comes back to it. That is what set this up, right? So the left wing of the Democratic Party and the Democratic Party as a whole has no choice but to resist this nominee, regardless of his qualifications, regardless of his background, because they feel like their nominee was stolen by Mitch McConnell 2 years ago. And as a result, we are in for probably the Super Bowl of all Super Bowls of battles in Congress over the next couple of weeks. And I think October 1 is a very aggressive deadline, especially given the fact that he has 300 decisions that people are going to have to wade through and understand. And he's going to get a lot of questions on those. And remember, I heard Mr. Leo talk about the Federalist Papers. My favorite Federalist paper is Federalist 51. Ambition must counteract ambition. And Congress has lacked ambition to counteract this president and check it. So the court's probably the last resort here. So Democrats have to take that into account when they look into this background.
Harmeet, Bernie Sanders was out there in full resistance mode after Judge Kavanaugh's announcement tonight by the president. But Bernie was all hot and bothered. Let's watch.
What we are talking about here is in a moment in American history where we have right-wing extremists controlling the House, the Senate, and the White House. If we appoint another right-wing extremist to the Supreme Court, I have very serious concerns about justice in this country and what will happen to the men, women, and children and the future of our nation.
Harmeet, I think the left is going to try to use this to whip up, votes in the fall on the midterm election cycle.
Yeah.
That's why they want to put this off if they can until after the midterms. I think they're not going to be able to do that. But your reaction, Bernie Sanders is still very popular, fills stadiums, unlike other people who wanted to be president. Your reaction to his comments tonight before the court announcement?
Well, I think it's ironic that this whole thing has occurred because Hillary Clinton rigged the whole Democratic process so that Bernie Sanders couldn't get traction, and now here we are. I mean, as a conservative, I'm very grateful that Donald Trump is now making the second terrific pick. But the reality, Laura, is no matter who had been picked, and remember in the Gorsuch situation, Democrats had these blank signs, and they actually took markers there and they filled in the blanks as to who was the person they're going to be protesting against. I'm sure that was happening today as well in D.C. It doesn't matter who it is. It doesn't matter who it was. It could have been anyone on that list of 25 or even any conservative, and the same hysterical reaction would have been there. I mean, it's an hour later, not even an hour later, and blood is already running in the streets, according to these people. But remember that the same crowd, NARAL, NOW, remember People for the American Way, they said that Justice Souter was going to overturn Roe v. Wade. We have been hearing this. It's not down to Merrick Garland. We've been hearing this hysteria, overreaction, dating back to Bork and before. And each time they got it wrong, and it's the boy who cried wolf.
Yeah,
nobody's taking these people seriously today.
Hold on, Chris. Matt, we got about 15 seconds. Matt, if there's one thing that Brett Kavanaugh could do to sway a Collins and a Murkowski, I mean, do you think they're going to be a problem in this ultimately?
Well, I think he's going to emphasize the importance of stare decisis, the idea that courts should be very hesitant to overturn precedent. And he's going to think about it. That's right, an independent judiciary.
We're out of time.